Hey guys, JT Tran here, and today I have a great guest, a friend of mine, Johnny Cassell. He is a professional gentleman and dating coach out here in the UK. He also visits America occasionally, and he's from johnnycassell.com. So, Johnny, tell our audience here, who might not be familiar with you, a little bit about your background.
Well, my background is pretty much like a lot of people that get into this. You start off by trying to fix a need.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is I was rubbish at this.
So was I.
Guilty.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to fool anyone. I was absolutely rubbish at this.
Right.
And what I love about this is we increase our awareness of certain psychological principles. And what I've actually done is heighten my awareness of why I'm actually doing what I'm doing. And I can trace it back as far as when I was at school, I actually used to get bullied by girls, would you believe it?
Really?
So this isn't like a revolt back against the girls.
Right.
Right. But no, so what happened was I compounded this limited belief that I was just no good with girls. You know, I used to come back from school with bruises all over my legs. It was severe. Yeah.
Wow.
I laugh about it.
I must say, London schools must be rough.
Toughen you up. So it was that bad, and I had another bad experience when I got a bit older where I was late for a maths class, and as punishment I was told to sit on the table full of girls as opposed to a table with my friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, like, oh, girls, you know.
This is like, icky!
Yeah, and again, I had a really bad experience, like, you know, I was just getting bullied in that whole class. So I was like, okay, girls don't like me. You know, that was the compound of, like, girls don't like me. So when I went on to secondary school, I thought, well, this is a chance to actually get over this, you know, except it was an all-boys school.
Which is sort of like even worse, right?
And like the only hope of actually seeing a girl was like when the bell rang at the end, and
you stare like through the fences or something.
Well, this is it. Like my friends would jump on the train and go and see like the girls in the nearest all-girls school, like for 5 minutes before they jumped in their mum's car. That's how ridiculous it is. That was the contact we had with females. So I wasn't interested because still was stuck in my head about girls don't like me, girls don't like me. I later went on to study mechanics. Actually, I did motocross at the time. And I thought, well, I'll study mechanics, and it will be something that fuels my say we've done the aerospace. Yeah. Yeah. So I went on to do motorsport engineering as well. So there is some crossover there. And as you know, coming from an engineering background, what sort of girls, if there are any girls?
Yeah, like mine was like 10 guys for every one girl, right? And they're like old, they're divorced, or have kids, so.
So it's not really a sort of, if there is a girl, it wasn't really the sort of one you want to get involved in. So that was my life, like through my educational background, which is, you know, made me aware, like, whoa, you know, I did suffer in this area. Outside of school, I was around people that were just happy to settle for something that was just around them, something that was convenient, you know, and it was this small town mindset that I really wanted to escape and get away from. And what I actually found was these people were actually holding me back. Wherever I was trying to build up my confidence to go and approach a group of girls, they'd be there and they'd stand at the bar, maybe throwing ice cubes at me or something. You know, they'd go in, they'd never ever go and approach a group. If they saw me approach, they'd go in and, you know, they'd try to make a fool out of me. I mean, it's funny, but it's not really funny when
you're the object of derision, right?
Exactly, and you're trying to improve that area of your life. Yeah. What I found was I got a wingman, and I taught him everything I knew, because at this time, you know, this was a time when like the game was coming out, so that was like a big exposure to a lot of people. Wow, we can respond to people in different ways, and, you know, get different results, which is great. And I tried a lot of this stuff out, but more importantly, what I found was the lines and the gimmicks and that would get me into the interaction. I'd learn a thing or two, but what's important was understanding the mechanics of why it worked. So what I don't teach like lines and gamuts and stuff like this. More importantly, I teach the mechanics of the psychology of why it works.
The underpinnings of why things work, yeah, like the foundation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Cool. So I went out there for 2 years. You know, there's lots of other books I read, but that was obviously a prominent one because it's probably one that a lot of guys will have come across. And yeah, you know, I remember my friend's mum would come back into his house one day and goes, well, you guys are living the life of princes, because we're just going out and meeting so many people, and this time we was going out 3 nights a week, and at the end of those 2 years, you know, he got a girlfriend, and I was like, you know, it's like your wingman's been taken out the battlefield. You're left fighting on your own. And you kind of mixed feelings, you're kind of frustrated. But what it made me aware of is people get into this for different reasons.
Right.
You know, whereas you're in it for a couple of months and you just want to find a girlfriend, you want to develop the lifestyle, you want to climb yourself up the social ladder, whatever it be. What it made me aware of is you can't be frustrated with that person.
Right. Not only do we have goals coming in that are different from other people, they evolve over time. Like you might come in like, I want to sleep with a lot of girls, and then over the course of a year or 2 years, like, okay, I've slept with a lot of girls, now I want like a wifey.
Absolutely.
Right?
So your values change, and you know you just got to appreciate people have different values. So I was like, okay, well I know I could have got a girlfriend at any point, but I said to myself, it was a very important thing I said to myself was, I am prepared to lose every girl I meet until I find the right one. So anyone watching this might want to write that down, because that's a really big thing that helped me out at the start. And another thing I'm going to share with you as well is we weren't saying to ourselves, right, we're going to go out tonight and get some pussy. You know, we're going to have to get laid. You know, because that automatically just puts so much social pressure that you don't actually edge forward to interact with anyone. So what we actually said to ourselves is, we're going out tonight to meet fun and interesting people. It got me into the interactions and just allowed me to be free and comfortable.
Yeah, and part of what you'll see in like the community, the dating community, is that there are those guys in schools of thought, they're like, okay, we build men up by tearing women down. So you go like, oh, I'm gonna get some pussy or get back some hoes, but you're tearing women down as opposed to like, you know, just treating women as equal. Instead of like putting them down or putting them on a pedestal, you humanize one another. So I think this is one of the reasons why I would consider Johnny like a gentleman. For me, a gentleman is someone who puts everybody at ease in any social situation, and that he feels comfortable whether it's the boardroom or the bedroom.
Exactly. You know, you're not going out there to try and cause conflict. It's not necessary. You know, in actual fact, if there's anyone out there and they're trying to cause conflict, I just get away from them, you know. But anyway, back to that story. So it's 2 years had that guy, and he went and he got a girlfriend. It led me to think, okay, what people are in it for, and I look at myself and thought, what am I in this for? Because at that time, you know, it was just building up like experience, you know, and getting the approaches under my belt. Because if you're not approaching, you're not learning. So I stopped and I thought, okay, what do I want out of this? And I visualised the sort of women I wanted. And that just really sunk in, like, okay, I want these sort of women. And I realised the sort of social side of it. This is not something that just helps your relationship with women. Like, relationships are everywhere. You know, your social life's built on relationships, your dating life's built on relationships, and your business is built on relationships. All good business practices come from really positive relationships. So I really did see the scope in this earlier on. You know, we're talking like 8 years ago. And I was like, okay, well, I really want to see how far I can, you know, climb the social ladder, as it were, and increase my network capabilities. And, you know, it was only the other day that, well, I said the other day, it was a few months ago now, I was at the pre-BAFTA party for the BAFTAs.
Okay,
Annabelle's here in London. And it was just one of those, like, moments that just felt so surreal. Like, walked in there, I'd been introduced to Idris Elba, Pierce Brosnan, oh, what a guy. And that guy, I mean, he must, like, go, right, I'm going into James Bond mode.
Yeah. There's the ultimate gentleman right there.
Right there. That guy is a very attractive man.
Yeah, and it's part of it is just he brings the comfort with him.
Yeah.
Like he does not treat people like uncomfortably. He's just smooth, and part of that is like being secure in ourselves.
Exactly, and you definitely feel that presence when someone really understands that, and that he was a great example of that. You know, I was with Bob Geldof, you know, Bradley Cooper, loads of big names, and it was just like, wow, like, okay, I visioned this, and this actually happened. Yeah. You know, and you hear so much in people that strive to be successful. You know, when they talk about, you know, I wanted the car, so I went to the car garage every month, and I visualised myself driving it. I visualised, you know, me getting closer to affording that, and then within a year they bought the car. So visualisation is a massive thing if you really want to get successful in this. You know, just stop and just go, what do I want? Otherwise, you know, you're just losing direction in this. And I do emphasise, you really can get what you want with this tool, this skill set that you're learning from people like myself and JT. You know, so, and I will say also, in the wrong hands, it can be very dangerous.
Yes, I mean, this is what we're going to talk about today. The difference between being, you know, a gentleman, right, that brings comfort with him and puts people at ease, both men and women, and those who, shall we say, use their powers for the dark side, like that kind of that fake pickup artist, right?
So after those 2 years, that guy got a girlfriend. I went on and I got another wingman. I taught him everything I knew, and same pattern. We went out for a year. And what do you think happened?
Got a girlfriend.
Got a girlfriend, you know. I was like, damn, it's happened to me again. Okay, all right. So I taught another guy, and what happened was the day I took him out, I introduced him to some girls I met the previous week.
Right.
That night, he took her back home. Slept with her and become his girlfriend for 5 years. And all these guys have only recently just split up with these girls. So they've all had like 5, 6, 7 year relationships. And it was that moment I thought, right, well, this is actually what I do. You know, and then I came to London. I actually met Kezia Noble. I've become, you know, a very integral part of her team. And, you know, she's great at what she do. We've learned a lot off each other. And yeah, it's been great. We've travelled the world together now.
Yeah. And you teach here in London as well as in the United States.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how to be a gentleman. Can we give our audience here some golden nuggets that say that this is a gentleman and not just some slob off the street or, you know, God forbid, like a pickup artist, right?
So this right here, what I'm about to share with you, is really the basics, and this is stuff that you can practice in your day in day life. You know, if there's a woman behind you and you're in front of her, open the door. You know, just make this your daily practice thing. I mean, this sounds so obvious. If you see someone struggling with their luggage at the tube station on the subway, just stop and ask if she would like help. And if she's polite to say no, just go, don't be silly, let me help you. Like, just make this part of your character trait. You know, I was lazy, you know, over the years to do this sort of stuff, but over the years we refine our attitudes and our behaviour, and this is something that if you practice day in, day out, it will actually make you a better person. Wherever you're in relationships, you know, women are really looking for this. I'm not saying open the door up every bloody time you go out, because that's ridiculous, you know, like, whoa, let me get the door, you know, but just make that little extra bit of effort. Things you can do, like, you know, if your girlfriend's had a really stressful day at work, maybe just like go to the bathroom, run a nice hot bath, get some essential oils like some lavender or some eucalyptus, mix in with the bath, run candles around the bathroom, you know, and just do little things like this.
Yeah, people appreciate that the effort, the small effort that you do for them, whether it's a total stranger and you're opening the door for her, or I remember one time it was on a plane, you know, traveling the world, and there's this little old like lady, like it reminds me of my grandmother. She's like struggling to put up her bag, right, and like no one was helping her, and I was like, what the heck? So I like had to push my way through, and I helped her. I mean, you know, it's things like that, and whether it's a total stranger or your girlfriend, making that little bit of effort to show and to differentiate yourself from, again, all the great slobs out there.
Absolutely, you know, so just keep this behaviour up, you know, and there's no like right occasion to do this. Take it by surprise, you know, get decked out in your favourite suit and go to her work with some flowers and her favourite chocolate when she's ill. Just do these little things, you know, it really goes so far. And I said it's definitely something I never really used to do, and I've definitely seen the benefits of just making that a little bit more of an effort. Like you said, JT, like, you know, girls really notice this.
So some really great tips on the small things that we can do to convey ourselves as gentlemen. But for those of our guys, especially the novice and amateurs and the really young guys, they probably might be thinking, well, being a gentleman sounds like I'm going to be a wussy or a doormat. But that's not true, is it?
No. I mean, you know, being a gentleman is just being a good guy, just turning up as a man. And one thing that I've been seeing a lot of my students lately is the importance of decisiveness. And this is something that we actually forget when we get into relationships. You know, when it's going well with a girl, when we start to develop a relationship, we are that decisive guy at the start. You know, we are like, okay, look, we're going for cocktails tonight, be here 8 o'clock. You know, they like this. It turns them on, you know, that you're the man with the plan and you've got direction. What happens in relationships is you kind of let relationships soften you up. And whereas you was like that tiger that, you know, is very sort of predatory.
Untamed.
Yeah, untamed. You know, you kind of start taking your mask off, you get a bit softer, and you start becoming that little house cat. You know? And the most common argument I've heard in relationships, and in relationships immediately around me, and within my own relationships in the past, is, well, I ask you if you want to do anything, and you never want to do anything. Well, that right there was the problem, because you started asking rather than telling. Now, that's not saying being a control freak. It's just we're hardwired to stay in our comfort zone and to say no. So if you ask someone, do they want to do something, they're probably going to say no, even though that they might find something fruitful from that experience if they followed through.
Right.
If someone asked me, Johnny, we're going to Switzerland and we're going to jump off the Vasaska Dam bungee jump, the one at Goldeneye, and do I want to do it? I'd probably say no. But because my friend phoned me up and goes, Johnny, we've got everything booked. We're going to Switzerland. We're doing the bungee jump, and you're coming. I was like, okay, because I'm being led. So if you lead people into new experiences. So that's often why I tell my students, if you ask for the number and she said no, go in there again and tell her to put your number in there. She's more than likely to say yes, because her auto response was to say no, because it's the comfort mechanism, defense mechanism.
Right. I think one of the differences between being a gentleman and just being a doormat is that leadership, is that decisiveness. You are opening the door because that's what you choose to do. You are asking the girl out because that's what you choose to do. You don't simply ask, you lead the way. All right. So again, some really great tips on being a decisive gentleman. Now, in your work, though, with clients, you're teaching them to be more refined, more genteel, basically a gentleman. But what are some issues that might arise commonly for you that you work with and you help them overcome?
One of the first things I do with my students is work on their mindset, because I believe if you haven't got the mindset right, the behaviour's not going to follow. So, when you're about to take action in something, you choose. The key word here is you choose. You choose to think positive about something or negative about something. But here's the thing, you could spend the same amount of time thinking negative or positive about something, so you choose which one it's going to be. I'm going to say that again, you choose whether to feel positive or negative about something. So what I'm trying to say is you govern your mind.
Right.
A lot of people, they let external things influence them. You've got to be aware of what influences you. I took it to a ridiculous degree. I'm not saying, do this, but it got to a point where I wouldn't even listen to the radio because the DJ was in charge of the influence around me, like putting on like a song that had a negative influence on my
right.
So I'd have my own playlist. I wouldn't pick up the paper because I knew that everything.
All the news and everything.
It's designed to elicit an emotional response, so people pick it up and they can sell adverts more. So it's just being a bit conscious about this. So when you are in that moment of hesitation and you see that girl that you like, and you choose whether to think reasons why you can or you can't do it, the key thing what you need to do is you need to build up a bank of reasons why you can, and I call these positive reinforcement.
Right.
And so just think of like 3 things why you can, because as guys what we tend to do, we never really give ourselves a tap on the back when we've done a good job. So make acknowledgement of that and keep it in the bag. Otherwise you're only going to reflect on these negative reference points, and that's what you're going to call upon when it is time to take action, and that's why hesitation is going to actually creep in.
Yeah, I see that a lot with my students because they're raised in this kind of very strict environment, and they're like, okay, you got to study and do this. So, great tip on governing your mind, freeing yourself from negative influence, and also making a conscious decision to think positive things. Because when you see a pretty girl, and you talk to her, that is the most wonderful thing in the world. Absolutely. But you'll have students that are like, oh, she won't talk to me because I'm short, I'm Asian. No, like talking to a beautiful girl is like the most wonderful feeling. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling, especially when she flirts back, gives you her number, you kiss her. It's incredible. So definitely give yourself positive reinforcement, all right? So, Johnny, thank you so much for coming here and giving our audience so many great tips on how to be a gentleman. How can our audience find you?
So you can find me on johnnycassell.com. You can find me on Twitter, just type in Johnny Cassell, Facebook, Johnny Cassell, and YouTube. I'm always putting out content there. So
we're going to put it down there, but how do they spell your last name? Really quickly, if you don't know.
Cassell. And it's Johnnny. It's not Jonny.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming. Stay tuned for later videos.